Ravens Rundown is your off-season headquarters for all things Baltimore Ravens, from the draft, free agency, trades, and more. The bosses put a little challenge out there for us. They want to know, can we get 20 subs off today's video? If not, I would hate to have to do Indianapolis Colts content around here. Nobody wants that. We don't like the Colts. Subscribe now for the latest happenings on your favorite team. We got you covered, and we'll get started with today's show. The Ravens season is in the books. Now it's time to look ahead to the 2024 NFL Draft. On today's show, we are going to break down 8 different potential draft targets for the Baltimore Ravens with their first-round pick at number 30 overall. Before we go over those names, let's set the scene for you here of what's ahead for Baltimore in this April's draft. The Ravens will pick at 30th overall in the first round, followed by a second-round pick at 62. Then a third-round pick at 93, a fourth-round pick at 130, and then another fourth-round pick, just a couple picks later, at 133, followed by a fifth-round pick at 163, and 2 seventh-round picks, one at 225 and then another at 247. No sixth-round pick for Baltimore, and with comp picks, there could be more picks coming for Baltimore, but at the moment, they have 8 in total. The team needs for the Ravens, the roster heading into next year has some big question marks, right? With 20 free agents that the Ravens have, you're not going to be able to re-sign everybody. You got some replacing to do. As is, you need to look at your options at running back, receiver, corner, edge, defensive line, and offensive line at the moment. With that in mind, let's go ahead and get started with the names on our list. We begin with the best name of this entire draft, Chop Robinson, the defensive end out of Penn State, began his career with Maryland and then shifted over to another Big Ten school with the Penn State Nittany Lions and was fantastic this past season. A first-team All-Big Ten selection in 2023. And this is somebody that's got an elite get-off, quick to react to the snap and explosive off the line of scrimmage. And what the stats don't show you is the full story when it comes to Chop Robinson. This is somebody that was double-teamed quite a bit, yet still managed to have 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 15 tackles this past season. Chop Robinson, he just looks the part of what you think of a Baltimore Ravens player on the defensive side of the ball, and not to mention being from the state of Maryland as well. It could be a nice homecoming potentially for him. Should the Ravens draft Chop Robinson? Put your GM hat on. Let us know what you think on our pinned comment today. Y for yes, N for no. Let us know what you think. Let's talk offense now, the receiver position. That's where we find Adonai Mitchell. The eyes of Texas are upon Mr. Mitchell. The outstanding receiver had a terrific year with the University of Texas this year as that high-powered offense found their way to the college football playoff, winning the Big 12 championship, playing alongside Xavier Worthy and Brooks and Quinn Ewers and company. They were lethal this past year, and Mitchell was a big part. Also was with the Georgia Bulldogs prior to that and won not one but 2 national championships and played a significant role there as well. This past year with UT, he was a second-team All-Big 12 selection, Big 12 Newcomer of the Year. And the scouting report on him, you're looking at somebody in Mitchell who's a functional route runner with that natural ability. It looks effortless, looks easy on the part of Adonai Mitchell. And you look at the numbers this past season, this guy, he might as well have been an ATM, an automatic touchdown machine. Had 11 touchdown scores with 845 yards. Brought that big play ability every time he touched the football. He was a threat. Watch out for Adonai Mitchell there. Let's go with another receiver. That's where we find Keon Coleman out of Florida State. The Florida State Seminoles missed out on the college football playoff despite having a perfect regular season. But Keon Coleman, this was somebody that, kind of like some of the guys we've talked about already, started his career one place and finished with another. Began at Michigan State and then played this past year at Florida State alongside Jordan Travis, was a first-team All-ACC selection in 2023. And when you look at his size, at 6'4", 215, he's got the ideal build for what you think of a wide receiver. If you were to build a wideout in a lab, he'd probably look like Keon Coleman with that size at 6'4", 215. And with that ability, yards after catch, big plays ability all the time. You can't count him out. And I look in particular what he did in that first game this past year against LSU, multiple touchdowns. And we've talked a lot about those LSU receivers. That day, he was the best player on the field. 11 touchdown scores for the entire season for Keon Coleman. Looks the part of a number one wideout despite not having a ton of yards last season. Let's go defense, and back to Penn State is where we find Kalen King out of Penn State there, the corner, and played his entire career at Penn State from 2021 to 2023. A second-team All-Big Ten selection this past season, and a very smart football player. High football IQ, good play recognition, and fluid in-press coverage on the line. His numbers, this is not somebody that had a ton of turnovers by any means. No interceptions this past year, but played that shutdown, no-fly zone type position there for this Penn State defense. 2 pass breakups, 29 tackles. We know this Ravens team is going to need some help at corner with what we saw with the injuries to Marlon Humphrey and Rock Ya-Sin and some of these other guys here. Kalen King could be a natural fit for Baltimore. Who's the player the Ravens should draft? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Give me one name that comes to mind that you would like to see in a Baltimore Ravens uniform in 2024. Let us know what you think. Next on our list, we find Patrick Paul, the offensive tackle for the University of Houston. And I got to tell you, when you looked at Patrick Paul, there was a challenge that was ahead of him. He was taking a significant step up in competition, going from the American Athletic Conference to the Big 12, as Houston made that transition this year. But for him, it looked seamless, as he was a first-team All-Big 12 selection in 2023. And this is somebody that's got excellent length with good athletic ability and that necessary quickness. And, I mean, you look at the size, because size matters, right? 6'7", 315. This is a hog molly, folks. Only allowed 1 sack in the Big 12 this past season. His PFF grade was phenomenal, 88.1. I know that, there's some big questions about Ronnie Stanley, especially with the down year he had, and trying to find some help with the offensive line. Patrick Paul is ready to start day one as an offensive tackle in the National Football League and could be a good fit for the Ravens there. Left tackle, right tackle, whatever it is, watch out for a guy like Patrick Paul. Next on our list, Jordan Jefferson from LSU. Not the former quarterback that took them to a national championship, but no, we're talking about the defensive tackle who began his career with the West Virginia Mountaineers and finished this past year with LSU. Not any accolades, like no always SEC honors or All-American honors, anything like that, but he will be participating in the Senior Bowl. And this is somebody that is an ideal run-stopping defensive tackle. We know in today's NFL, everybody has to run the football well, and you got to have those run stoppers. He's got the physical traits that will fit into any scheme. You plug and play Jordan Jefferson, you're going to like the results that he brings to the table. 2.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 36 tackles on this past season. Watch out for Jordan Jefferson to be a potential fit, especially if the Ravens end up losing Justin Matabuke in free agency. They're going to need to look at other options. Jordan Jefferson could be that fit for Baltimore. More to come here on Ravens Rundown in a moment, but first, we are offering Kyle Hamilton T-shirts and jerseys, all the Kyle Hamilton gear your heart could desire at chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton. Yes, you heard that right. Chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton had a fantastic season. He's going to be a star for many, many years to come. And I want to make sure that you are covered with plenty of Kyle Hamilton gear. So weigh in the comments section and check us out at chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton to get yours today. And don't miss out on this opportunity to get some awesome Kyle Hamilton gear like this T-shirt and jersey that you're seeing on your screen. Chatsports.com/Kyle Hamilton. All right, let's go to another corner this time. This is where we find Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. Holy Toledo, Quinyon Mitchell here. If you don't know who Quinyon Mitchell is, that's where I come in, tell you more about him. A 2-time first-team All-MAC Conference selection there with Toledo. And this is somebody with impressive technique, quick footwork in coverage. Does a really good job of just moving around and chasing after receivers left and right. This past season, folks, I don't care what conference you're in. If you're in the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, the Mountain West, the MAC, it doesn't matter. This is going to be one that jumps off the page. 18 pass breakups this season. That's impressive. I don't care who the competition was. Maybe you were, doing that in the gym, taking on old people or something. If you had 18 pass breakups, you'd be impressed too. That jumps off the page. Quite the ball hawk in his own right. Watch out for Mitchell as a potential option there for Baltimore as well. We'll wrap up here in just a moment, but I got to ask you one more question. What is the biggest need for the Ravens in this year's draft? We talked about some of it at the top of the show. What do you guys think it is? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Last but not least, we find Leonard Taylor III out of the University of Miami, an all-ACC honorable mention in 2022. Played there from 2021 to 2023. Good quickness, strong and physical at the point of attack, which is exactly what you want to hear when you're talking about a defensive lineman. This past season, 20 tackles, 1 sack, no forced fumbles there, and he's right from Miami. And so that could be a sign of loyalty, potentially, of him staying right there in his own backyard where he went to school. So there's our list of a few names to watch of who could ultimately end up with the Baltimore Ravens. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe to the channel for more draft coverage as we take you up all the way to April here on the channel. Subscribe now. You'll be glad you did, and we'll see you next time.